Hey, welcome to another episode of Coach's Locker Podcast with Coach Fore. This is episode 39, and we're talking about chapter 7 of my book, Building Championship Caliber Football Programs. This chapter is going to be about team chemistry. I also call it the most overlooked key to success. I really think it is. We're going to get into that real quick. Thanks for joining. Right back after this introduction.
You are listening to the Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Fore, a place for all coaches to call home. The Coach's Locker Podcast is a part of the Football Coaching Podcast Network. Please visit footballcoachingpodcast.com to hear and see our entire lineup of top football coaches coming to you every single podcast with valuable information to help you and your program. The Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Fore exists to help prepare coaches to be hired for the job of their dreams and to provide coaches with dynamite resources to become even more successful in their field. You can reach me on Twitter at Coach Fore, that's at COACHFORE, and my podcast home is at 8laces.org/podcast. That's 8laces, EIGHTLACES.org/podcast. Welcome to the Coach's Locker Podcast with Chris Fore. Now, let's get after it.
Hands up, forget about the past, 'cause you and I's everything I ever asked for. Top down round the West Coast.
So, hey, thanks for joining me, folks. I hope you have enjoyed this podcast series on my book. It's been very popular. So I looked up some stats the other day, and that's been, good to see. I'm not just sitting here wasting my time, but I've enjoyed, reading this, putting this book on tape. This book really was a labor of love. It took a long time to do this research. I think it's critical research to our game and our profession for coaches who want to build great programs. I think it gives you a blueprint on it. So nothing's ever been done like it before that I've seen in public, printed. I think I've heard of some master's projects, where they've maybe reached out to 10 coaches or something like that. But 106 coaches from 42 states, I think, was my final number. And I think team chemistry, I've learned, I was a head coach just for 8 years, but I learned that you just cannot do enough to develop it. You cannot do enough to concentrate on building team chemistry. So let's jump right into this. A quote from Bob Godsey, Hartselle High School in Alabama. Team chemistry was the most important aspect of our championship team. We have good team chemistry year in and year out in our athletic program and our football program, but this team bonded like no other. When you assemble nearly 100 teenage boys from all walks of life, things are going to happen. Not all players are going to see everything the same way. But this team, during practices and games, was able to put their differences aside for the good of all. Not all teams are willing to do that. Teammates helped each other make good decisions. When poor decisions were made, teammates handled it and worked hard to prevent it from happening again. The poor decision makers appreciated the effort of their teammates and made great efforts to improve their own decisions. In turn, the effort to improve was noticed by all, which resulted in a unified team. This was most evident by the play of our team in crucial late-game situations. In the end, they were able to put differences or issues aside for the good of the team. Quote from Ken Lucas, Annapolis area Christian school out in Maryland. Not sure what we did differently this year. However, I know as a staff we felt we had to take care of us first. We felt we had the talent and capabilities to be successful. However, we felt strongly we needed to work on our team chemistry. By creating a family-like environment and brotherhood amongst the players, we felt strongly that success was possible. Naturally, we would have to make plays as well. However, playing together would certainly optimize those opportunities. Pat Rice from Wanakee High School in Wisconsin. Our team-first mentality was really our key this season. The idea that everyone has roles, no matter what your specific role is, it is critical to the team and to the success of the team. This really led to tremendous team chemistry and leadership. We were all in, from the student assistants to the players to the staff. It is very hard to articulate, but when that happens, you become a very difficult team for your opponents to deal with. So, team chemistry, you either have it or you don't. There really is not a middle ground in the area of team chemistry. When was the last time you heard a coach say, our team chemistry is just average? I don't really ever hear that. I've always heard, our chemistry needs work, or our chemistry is outstanding. I cannot even think what average team chemistry would look like. Chemistry is a scientific word, which has to do with how atoms connect and interact with the other atoms. I never did very well in my science classes, but it's interesting that I absolutely love studying team chemistry. I firmly believe that building team chemistry is one of the most overlooked aspects of team success and of being a head coach. How many times does your own coaching staff discuss building team chemistry around the staff meeting tables? It usually only comes up when things are bad, when things go sideways, when kids aren't getting along well together. The coaches who get it in this area can develop a clear advantage over their opponents. By taking the time to develop team chemistry and getting your atoms to connect well with the other atoms on your team, you can take your team to a place unmatched by your opponent. Is it possible to develop team chemistry? As head coaches, do we really have any control over the chemistry on our football team? Is it possible to develop team chemistry? You only have your kids for a short while every day, maybe up to 3 hours. You only have your kids you aren't with them all day, every day. Your season is only one of the 3 seasons during the school year. What about when you lose those kids to other sports? Do we really have control over the aspect of our team, the atoms getting along with the other atoms? You absolutely do. You must be proactive in building team chemistry, or it will build itself. The Reagan administration used a phrase, if you do not talk about drugs with your kids, somebody else will. And when they ran that commercial, the somebody else was a dark, shadowy figure in an alley. I really believe in that concept as far as team chemistry is concerned. The atoms are going to interact with the atoms in some way, form, or fashion. Why not spend time up front during your training camp or your summer program to help develop that culture of interaction? I'm always on the lookout for ideas on how to build team chemistry. I'm constantly reading books, magazine articles, and online stories about team chemistry. I'm fascinated with this topic because I have seen really great teams with great football players have poor chemistry, and vice versa. I have seen teams with very few great football players end up having tremendous team chemistry. For something to be proven scientifically reliable, it must be able to be repeated. I'm telling you right now, team chemistry is not as scientific as its name might suggest. Team chemistry is hard to repeat from one year to the next. I enjoy reading stories about successful businesses because those leaders must develop team chemistry in their offices or they will fail. Military history also shows and is a great teacher because soldiers must be able to develop team chemistry in their teams or they will fail. Our nation has had some tremendous military leaders to learn from. I encourage you to study team chemistry. Study to find out what makes companies and organizations that you know are doing very well, where people love to work, in order to see what concepts you can take away for your football program. Dan Higgins from Piscataway, New Jersey, High School, New Jersey. They were playing for each other and not themselves. It took a tremendous amount of group mentoring and teaching. We would read any newspaper articles or relative current events that spoke to the team-first mentality. After our second and final loss of the season, a player asked to show a motivational video. How bad do you want it? It turned the season around. We never lost another game. We won 9 straight and entered the playoffs as the last seed, and we played every game away. But we never forgot who we were playing for, and we won a second state championship. Willie Amendola from Decaney High School in Texas. Team unity and love for each other. Plan for it, practice it daily. It is the single most influential factor. We preach common purpose, mutual dependence, and shared honor. Kevin Swift from Gold Beach, Oregon High School said, team chemistry is everything. The 2010 state runner-up had more talent than this year's 2011 championship team, but they could not all get along. We stressed respect and had several team-building activities. Putting programs in place to develop team chemistry. An important aspect of building team chemistry is making sure that you have programs and procedures in place that will naturally help to develop that chemistry. These programs and procedures are some things that happen on a regular basis, that are helping your atoms interact with other atoms. An example of a procedure or program I have used in the past is having what we call home meals. Every Thursday, the night before the game, when we played at home, we would go to the home of a player or coaches for a meal. We asked for parents to host this meal. Many other parents would kick in the funds or the food and drinks to make this happen for us. We would show up 30 minutes after our practice, have a great meal. This event is always a great night together as a team. Most nights, I would change up the seating assignments. For instance, I would let them all come in and get seated. Then, before our prayer, I would make them mingle by telling everyone to stand up and then give them instructions, maybe that sophomores had to sit with seniors. The next week, it might be freshmen, you need to sit with the seniors. Maybe it would only be, hey, 3 linemen only allowed at this table. Or you must have at least one kid at your table that's brand new this year. I just try to mix it up like this so they did not get into their cliques. This is one example, just one part of a place in our program that built team chemistry. Here's some more ideas. A training camp overnighter. Boy, I loved doing this when I was a head coach. I stole this idea from my high school days. At Fallbrook High School, Coach Tom Pack would arrange trips for us during training camp. There was a time period where we went somewhere every other year for a week of training camp. During my junior year, it was the University of California at Santa Barbara. The following year, we stayed 3 or 4 nights in our own gym. This meant we did not have to fundraise every single year for a trip. I love this idea of getting everyone to stay at the school for 2 or 3 nights during training camp. Having your kids and coaches sleep on blow-up mattresses and in sleeping bags right on the campus is something special. I've organized it so that parents come in and take care of all the food. Kids are responsible for the entertainment and bedding. So we have some kids just come in with their sleeping bags, and some bring in their actual mattresses from home. They bring it in, set up video games on a big screen, they have music. It's a great atmosphere for building team chemistry. We are literally on the field or in the gym together for 72 hours straight. Orientation groups. I always like to pair my incoming freshman with a senior. I instruct our seniors that they are to be like big brothers to these new kids on campus. I tell them to make sure to check in with their freshmen between every class and at lunch on the first day so that they know where to go, how to find what they need. I also ask our seniors to help mentor and tutor their kids throughout the year. Again, this program helps to create chemistry. Off the field fun nights. I've always been a big believer in getting away from the field as a group. I like to periodically take the entire team to a bowling alley, movie theater, or restaurant in town to help build team chemistry. I think it's important to do this in season and out of season. Thanks to the advancement of social media, we've seen videos of coaches like Pete Carroll surprise his team with a movie night in the middle of training camp. You see these college kids jumping all around and very giddy when they get a break like this. A few years ago, my team made the section playoffs for the first time in several years. A lot of pressure was on them from all different sources. I wanted to help alleviate that pressure they felt. We were a young team, and I did not want them to crack under it. So the night before the playoff game, we all went out to dinner and to a mini golf place together. We did this just to have fun, hang out, hopefully take their mind off the game for a few hours, help them relax and be kids. What about a swim party and skits to celebrate the end of training camp? I've used this great tradition every year as a head coach to celebrate the end of training camp. We have a pool party at one of our kids' houses. It's a big barbecue that the parents put together for us. We'll have a morning practice. We're usually done by about 11. Head over to the house for a few hours. Again, it's one of those built-in chemistry builders. The kids really look forward to it, and I have parents knocking down the door to host it every year. At this pool party, we'll have the underclassmen do skits. We always give them a few days of practice and prepare for these skits. It's always been fun to see them get more and more creative as the years go by. Usually the skits revolve around making fun of and mimicking the coaching staff and the seniors. I do not think we laugh as hard all season long as we do as a team during those couple of hours. Goal cards. I stole this idea from Bob Lattiser at Concord de La Salle out here in California. Our staff spent a few days up there years ago, and one of the things we really loved was how they do goal cards. These kids come up with 3 goals per week and must come with those written on an index card. The 3 areas are game goal, practice goal, and a lifting goal. At our team meal on Thursday nights, each kid stands up, verbalizes his goal, and then chooses his teammate to hold him accountable to these goals during the week. For instance, my game goal is to catch every ball thrown to me. My practice goal is to work on catching for 15 minutes after each practice. and my lifting goal is to do 2 more reps during my clean max. At the next week's meeting, whomever he chose to hold him accountable will stand up with him and say, Johnny made his game goal. He caught all 4 passes thrown to him. He reached his practice goal by extra practice each day, but he failed his lifting goal. He was not able to get up to 2 extra cleans. This one-on-one accountability during the week helps to build team chemistry. Team rules are for the team. I do not know of anything that destroys team chemistry more than coaches who do not apply the team rules to the team. When a starting quarterback gets preferential treatment, how do you think this makes the third-string quarterback feel? Team chemistry, the atoms getting along with the atoms, will dissolve when they are treated unfairly. If Joe, the 4th-string linebacker, has to do up-downs for being late to practice on Tuesday, and Bill, the starting linebacker, is late on Thursday and gets a pass, now you got a problem. Team rules need to be applied evenly and appropriately. Jeff Van Leeuwer from Bridgewater Emory Ethan High School in South Dakota. This year, our most significant aspect was believe. Our players believed we were going to be successful this year. Their work ethic was second to none in season and out of season. We were unselfish in the fact that we had no I players, which meant we played as a team the entire season. And lastly was trusting in each other, themselves and the coaches. You could see that trust in our players' eyes after every play. Each of them knew that they were going to give whatever it took to get the job done, along with knowing that the guy next to them was going to do the same thing. Maurice Douglas of Trotwood Madison High School in Ohio. Our team chemistry was great. The players had a great drive to finish the deal this season. We worked on being selfless and being team-first mentality. Our motto was, if we win, you win. Bruce Harden from Providence High School in North Carolina said, the team chemistry that players created among themselves was influenced by our senior leaders. There were no egos to feed, and the players truly believed in each other, being accountable for doing their assignments well. Scott Bailey from Lamar High School in Missouri. I would say the belief in each other we call brotherhood. It helped sustain us through our year-round strength and conditioning program, helped us overcome a Week 6 loss in a big game environment, and made the process of building a football program more enjoyable. That and a large group of outstanding young men that are very good athletes that play very good football. John Van Vliet of Lighthouse Christian High School in Idaho said, an important aspect of success was our one-body philosophy. We stressed all year that there are many parts to a body and that all are necessary and important. Everyone focused on their role and what they could do to help the entire body be stronger. We stressed that from the beginning until the championship game. A lot of quotes here, but the reason I filled this chapter with more quotes than other chapters is because I think they have just some tremendous ideas from these coaches. So I wanted to share their ideas directly for you to steal. Barney Hester from Tatnall Square Academy in Georgia. Our team unity was outstanding. It started with our seniors and filtered through all the classes. We have been very blessed over the last 30 years, winning the state championship 11 times and playing for the title 7 more times. Wow, 18 out of 30. The main ingredient of those teams was unity. Hal Lamb from Calhoun High School in Georgia. The most important aspect of our state champion season was definitely our team chemistry. Our kids really cared and loved each other. Paul Morrow, Blue Ridge High School in Arizona. Team unity was the most important part of our state championship season. We try to develop a servanthood type of philosophy. Jesus has given us all a great example of this. Those that are last shall be first. This means those who serve others will reap the rewards of life. Scott Riles from Elba High School in Alabama. The most important aspect of our state championship season was togetherness. Our players have been playing on the same team for several years. Each player has others back at all times. This was developed through a sound strength and conditioning program and fellowship of Christian athletes. Trust is of utmost importance. Mark Del Percio from Middletown High School in Delaware. Chemistry that was developed during the offseason and season with our team-building activities was the most important aspect of our championship. Team activities. I take them bowling once a year and when we hit a wall with practice. This could be preseason or in season. We also do a If You Really Knew Me activity during the preseason so we can get to know each other better. Rick Streif from Cathedral High School in Indiana. Brotherhood is everything. It is our constant motto. We believe that by creating relationships between players and coaches, that a level of trust results that makes teams fight through the tough times. We create tough times during practice where the players have to count on each other. What is learned is that you must be counted on in order to count on others. Jeff Gorley from Olaf South High School in Kansas. Team chemistry has been a critical component of every successful team I have ever coached. Without a "we are all in this together" mentality, teams have a tendency to break apart during the rough parts of a season, and all seasons have rough parts. We attempt to build team chemistry through the off-season. The old saying, "misery loves company," comes into play during our off-season program. We really stress the fact that everyone is working hard to achieve the same goal. Everyone is making sacrifices to be good. Everyone is paying the same price for success. If we can get that message into our players' heads, we normally have a very good season. Let's not fool ourselves, though. Talent is the main factor in winning a state championship. If your team has talent and willingness to work as a single unit, success will come. If you've watched the recent Netflix series on Last Chance U, boy, you see that right there. I mean, how much talent did those guys have? They had crazy talent in won 2 games? How was their team chemistry? Awful. Truly awful is what it looked like. Obviously, we only see 8 hours, but didn't look good. Jason Herring from Refugio High School in Texas. Without question, the one most important aspect of our team this year was unity. This particular team came together and held each other accountable better than any other team I have ever coached. They were unified and extremely cohesive in a way that is hard to describe. Stay linked was our team motto, and that undoubtedly was the single most important reason we were able to win the championship. Mickey Kahn from Grayson High School in Georgia. This year's team was very unselfish. It did not matter who got the credit as long as our team got the victory. That is a special trait. How did you develop that in your program? I'm not sure I did anything differently. The team just listened. Greg Oder from Blue Springs High School in Missouri. The most important part of our team this year was the fact that our team was selfless. They were a very close-knit group that didn't care who got the credit. They just wanted to win. You have to find a way to get that through to your athletes. The team will be much better than individuals. Glenn McNamee from Central Dauphin High School in Pennsylvania. One of the most important aspects of our program this year was selflessness. Selflessness is one of our core values, and we look to highlight it every chance we can as a coaching staff. Through the course of a high school football season, so many moments of adversity can derail a team. Selflessness and the togetherness that comes from true selflessness can carry a team through those moments. Art Craig from Timberland High School in South Carolina says, "This wasn't the most talented team that I've had, but it was the best team. These kids liked each other and respected each other and their views. We pushed each other, enjoyed each other, and people were not afraid to laugh or cry with this group." So there's some tremendous ways, some tremendous ideas on team chemistry. I hope you've learned a little something, picked up something this short podcast. And now for our timeout. Question number 1, from your own experience and what you've read in this chapter, explain why you think Coach Bob Godsey of Alabama's Heart So High said, "Team chemistry was the most important aspect of our championship. We have good team chemistry year in and year out in our program, but this team bonded like no other." From your experience, why do you think he said this quote about team chemistry being the most important aspect of their championship? Question 2. Describe the team chemistry from your team in 2018. From last year, from last season, describe the team chemistry from your team in 2018. Was it good or bad? Question 3. How can you help to develop the team chemistry in your program so that's better this next season in 2019? How can you develop team chemistry this coming season so that it's better than last year? Question number 4. What are 3 things from this chapter that you can implement right away in your program? I share, I think, 5 great team chemistry building ideas. What's one that you can implement right away? And question number 5, what roadblocks are in the way of your atoms getting along wonderfully with the other atoms in your program? What is keeping your program from attaining the best team chemistry possible this next season? What are you going to do about that? Again, what roadblocks are in the way of your atoms getting along wonderfully with the atoms in your program? What is keeping your program from attaining the best team chemistry possible this season? What are you going to do about that? Folks, that's it. Thanks for joining me here on episode 37, chapter 7 on team chemistry. Please come back for episode 40. We'll be talking about mental toughness, getting the mind right. Again, you can reach me on Twitter at Coach Fore. That's the at symbol, COACHFORE, at Coach Fore on Twitter. And you can reach me via email, chris@8laces.org. Again, that's Chris, CHRIS, at 8laces, EIGHTLACES.org. And you can find my podcast home at either footballcoachingpodcast.com or 8laces.org, 8laces.org /podcast. Thank you, folks.